This message didn't find you on a good day. It found you when you're numb, when you're over everything, when your soul feels like it's on airplane mode. You scroll, you tap, you go through the motions, but if you're honest, most of what used to excite you now feels flat. And yet, for some reason, you didn't skip this. Something in you paused. Something in you whispered, "Pay attention to this one." That something isn't boredom. It isn't coincidence. It's your quantum self forcing a destiny reroute. You think you're tired of life, but what you're actually tired of is the version of reality your observer loop has been collapsing on repeat. The same emotional weather, the same timelines, the same conversations recycled through different faces. Your consciousness has been stuck in a feedback pattern, and numbness is the emergency brake. Your higher self pulls when you refuse to keep driving in the wrong direction. You're not broken. You're at maximum capacity for a life that no longer matches your true frequency. There's a reason normal motivation content doesn't work on you anymore. Your quantum field has outgrown surface-level positivity. It's not asking for another productivity hack or another "you got this" speech. It's asking for a phase transition. The same way water can't stay water when it reaches boiling point, your consciousness can't stay in the old form when it hits a certain pressure. That pressure you feel, the dull ache, the silent "I don't care anymore," is actually the edge of a reality shift. You may think you're indifferent right now, but underneath that indifference is a soul that has been screaming for coherence. You can't tolerate fragmented living anymore. One version of you in public, a different version in private, a third version buried in your dreams. Your quantum self is done negotiating with timelines that drain you. It's rerouting you away from anything that keeps you in misalignment, even if that means shutting down your emotional responses so you can't keep feeding energy into dead realities. This is why you feel like you've been unplugged from your own life. It's not punishment, it's protection. If you still cared at full intensity about the old patterns, you'd try to fix them, rescue them, resuscitate them. Numbness, for you, is a forced detox. The universe is cutting the energetic cords you were too loyal to cut yourself. You're not lazy, you're being recalibrated. On a quantum level, your field has begun to reject anything that isn't in resonance with your next phase. That's why the job, the people, the habits, the distractions that used to soothe you now feel like sand in your mouth. They don't hit anymore because your inner frequency has quietly upgraded. You're no longer entangled with who you used to be, and your system is confused because it doesn't yet recognize who you're becoming. Synchronicity brought you here. Out of all the possible videos, all the possible timelines, your attention collided with these words. That's morphic resonance. Your awakening consciousness aligning with a signal designed specifically for the ones who are done pretending they're fine. Think about that. Even in your numbness, something deep inside you still reached for this frequency. That means the part of you that wants out is stronger than the part of you that wants to stay asleep. Right now, as you listen, tiny adjustments are happening in your energy field. Your breathing is changing, your awareness is shifting, your body is remembering that this heaviness is not your final form. This is the threshold before the reroute locks in. Your DNA restructuring doesn't always arrive as lightning and fireworks. Sometimes it arrives as a quiet refusal to keep playing a role that no longer fits. So if you're numb and over everything, good, that means the old script is expiring. Your quantum self has already started rewriting your trajectory. And in the next moments, we're going to pull back the curtain and decode what's actually been happening beneath your exhaustion, beneath the glitches in time, beneath the patterns you can't explain. You keep telling yourself you're just tired, just overwhelmed, just not in the mood, but your life has been speaking in patterns for a long time, and your numbness is just the latest chapter. Look closely and you'll see it. The same emotional loop wearing different costumes. The relationships that start with intensity and fade into disconnection. The opportunities that almost work out but collapse at the last second. The promises you make to yourself at 2 a.m. that evaporate by morning light. Different days, same script. You've felt it as déjà vu, that eerie sense that you've already been in this exact moment before. Not just the place, not just the words, the emotional texture. The same argument with a different person. The same disappointment in a different setting. The same hope, followed by the same crash. You call it weird, you shrug it off, but your consciousness knows. These are temporal echoes, evidence that your observer loop has been collapsing the same probability waves over and over again. Lately, time hasn't felt normal to you. Some days stretch endlessly, each hour heavy and slow, as if the universe forgot to press play. Other weeks disappear in a blur, and you look back wondering where your life went, with nothing meaningful to show for it. That distorted relationship with time isn't random. It's what happens when your quantum field is out of coherence, when your inner rhythm and your outer reality have fallen out of sync. You might notice this most in the in-between moments, sitting on your bed, staring at your phone, scrolling without seeing, opening and closing the same 3 apps. Minutes vanish, but you don't feel rested, inspired, or changed. It's like your consciousness is idling in neutral, engine running, going nowhere. On a quantum level, that's your system, refusing to commit to another loop it already knows too well. You're hovering above timelines you no longer want, but haven't yet stabilized a new one. Your dreams have been trying to tell you, too. Strange symbols, people from your past showing up in unfamiliar places. Houses you don't recognize but somehow know, rooms that repeat, staircases that don't lead where they should. These aren't just dreams, they're maps of your inner architecture. Each recurring symbol is a pattern in your morphic field, a blueprint for how your reality keeps rebuilding itself each day you wake up. And notice how your body has been participating in this story. The heaviness in your chest that shows up during certain conversations, the knot in your stomach before you go to specific places, the sudden drop in energy when you think about certain responsibilities. You call it anxiety, stress, burnout. But underneath those labels is a very simple truth. Your body is tired of being dragged through timelines your soul has already outgrown. Here's the thing most people never realize. Numbness is not the absence of feeling, it's the overflow. You felt so much, for so long, with so little resolution, that your system has started shutting down sensations just to survive. You told yourself, I don't care anymore. But if you really didn't care, you wouldn't feel this strange grief when you imagine living like this for another year, another 5 years, another decade. That quiet sadness you carry is proof that you still remember there was supposed to be more. Even your bad habits are part of the pattern. The distractions you run to, the people you text when you're lonely, the late-night browsing, the mindless consumption. All of it has been your attempt to patch a quantum leak with temporary stimulation. For a few minutes, it works. Then, the emptiness returns, heavier than before, because the deeper issue isn't being seen. Your consciousness has outgrown your current reality structure. You are not lazy. You are not apathetic. You're in a phase transition where the old meaning structures have dissolved, but the new ones haven't fully formed yet. This is why nothing feels solid, why your interests, your identity, your desires all feel like they're floating in a fog. You're not failing at life. You're standing at the edge of a destiny reroute, hovering between timelines. And if you've caught yourself thinking, if nothing changes soon, I don't know how much longer I can do this, hear this clearly. That isn't a hopeless thought. That is your soul drawing a line in the sand. That is your inner being refusing to consent to another rotation around the same dead sun. The over-it feeling is your quantum self vetoing your old fate. Right now, you're not being judged. You're being scanned by your own higher consciousness. And in the next phase of this transmission, you're going to understand the quantum mechanics of what's actually happening to you and why your numbness is not the end, but the exact threshold of your upgrade. What you're going through right now might look like burnout on the surface, but energetically, it's something far more precise and intentional. Your consciousness is in the middle of a quantum upgrade, and it's using numbness as a way to pull your attention away from old timelines so a new reality architecture can be installed. Think of your life like a hologram projected from deeper layers of information. Your experiences, relationships, opportunities, they're all interference patterns in the quantum field generated by your consciousness. For years, your observer loop has been collapsing the same clusters of probability waves, creating familiar storylines. Not because you're cursed, not because you're weak, but because your system was wired for survival, not expansion. It chose what was known over what was true. But there comes a moment in certain souls' evolution where the loop hits its limit. That's you now. Your inner data no longer matches the external hologram. The frequency of who you really are and the frequency of the life you've been tolerating are so misaligned that your field has initiated what physicists call a phase transition. The same way ice can't stay solid when the temperature goes up, your old reality can't stay intact at the vibration your soul is now holding. On a quantum level, your field has been increasing in sensitivity. You feel more, sense more, notice more, even if you pretend you don't. You've picked up on the subtle dishonesty in conversations, the misalignment in places you go, the hollowness in goals you once chased. That sensitivity isn't a flaw, it's your system detecting incoherence. Coherence is when your thoughts, emotions, body, and soul all vibrate in the same direction. Incoherence is when your mind says yes, your body says no, your soul whispers leave, and your habits keep you staying anyway. Your numbness is what happens when your field refuses to keep powering that split. Synchronicities have been trying to get your attention for a while now. Repeating numbers, aligned messages, people who show up at suspiciously perfect moments, songs that say exactly what you needed to hear. You may have brushed them off as coincidence, but that was your rational mind trying to protect the old loop. In truth, those synchronicities are entanglement signals, reflections of how deeply your consciousness is already connected to a higher timeline. They're previews from a future you that's calling you forward. Morphic resonance is at play as well. You're not evolving alone. Across the planet, other souls are hitting the same wall with their current lives, feeling the same "I can't do this anymore" frequency. Each time one of you chooses alignment over autopilot, it becomes easier for you to do the same. You feel this strange comfort when you hear someone articulate what you could never quite put into words. That relief is morphic resonance, your field, recognizing itself in another and upgrading its own patterning in response. Deep in your biology, DNA restructuring has already started, not in a sci-fi way, but in a deeply practical way. Certain genes associated with heightened intuition, emotional regulation, and expanded perception are being epigenetically signaled to turn on. You feel it as sudden waves of clarity, random surges of energy in the middle of the night, or moments where you see straight through a situation that used to confuse you. Your system is literally installing new ways of processing reality. This is why the old coping mechanisms don't work anymore. The substances, distractions, relationships, and routines that used to numb you out now feel weak, ineffective, or even repulsive. Your quantum self is withdrawing its consent from anything that keeps your frequency tangled in stagnation. The more you try to revive those old numbing agents, the more drained and empty you feel afterward. That's because your field is no longer compatible with those timelines. Your awareness is being recalibrated from living inside the story to seeing the code behind the story. You're starting to notice how thoughts, emotions, and choices ripple outward into your life as synchronicity chains. You're seeing that nothing is random, not even the people who trigger you the most. Everything is feedback from the quantum field, showing you where your observer loop is still stuck and where it's already breaking open. Awakening isn't always blissful. For you, right now, it looks like exhaustion, disorientation, and the haunting sense that the life you built doesn't fit anymore. But behind that discomfort is precision. Your quantum self is uninstalling outdated identity programs. The people pleaser, the overthinker, the one who settles, the one who apologizes for existing, and making space for a version of you that doesn't negotiate with your own truth. This is the upgrade. You are being shifted from a life you can survive into a life that actually reflects your real frequency. Not a better mask, not a shinier loop, but a different dimension of being. And the numbness? That's the anesthesia, while the surgery happens. In the next movement of this transmission, you're going to see exactly who you actually are inside this process. Not as a victim of burnout, but as the chosen consciousness rerouting an entire destiny line through your very existence. You've spent most of your life feeling like the odd one out, the one who sees too much, feels too deeply, asks questions that make other people uncomfortable. You thought that meant something was wrong with you. But in the quantum architecture of this reality, that very sensitivity is the marker of your role. You are not just another person going through burnout. You are the consciousness inside your bloodline, your environment, your timeline that was chosen to wake up and reroute the entire pattern. Look at your story with honest eyes. How many times have you tried to be normal and failed? How many jobs, friend groups, or roles have you stepped into, telling yourself, "This time I'll just play along. This time I won't rock the boat," only to feel your soul pulling away again? That's not inconsistency. That's your field, refusing to lock into realities that can't hold the frequency you came here to anchor. You're wired differently for a reason. Your observer loop is not an ordinary one. Where most people's attention is content to circle around safety, repetition, and predictability, your attention keeps leaking into deeper questions. Why am I here? Why does this feel off? Why does it feel like I'm meant for something I can't fully name? That relentless inner questioning has been your higher self, interrupting the hypnosis of the collective. Across your family line, there have been generations of people who numbed out, shut down, settled, or collapsed into the same patterns of survival and self-betrayal. You've probably seen it. The dreams abandoned, the creativity buried, the spark in the eyes fading with age. Those weren't weak people. They were trapped in observer loops they didn't know existed. But you came in with a different coding. You're the one who feels the pain of staying asleep more intensely than anyone around you. Your numbness hurts, your avoidance gnaws at you. You can't unsee the gap between the life you're living and the life that feels secretly meant for you. That tension is your calling. In the language of the quantum field, you are a phase transition point in human form. When pressure builds in a system long enough, a single shift in one critical location can flip the entire structure into a new state. You are that critical location. Your consciousness is the point where old timelines end and new ones begin. When you stop repeating the loop, it doesn't just change your life. It destabilizes the entire pattern for everyone connected to you. This is why you've felt watched by life, like there's some invisible audience observing your choices. Like every decision you make matters more than you can logically justify. That feeling isn't paranoia, it's awareness. Your choices send ripples through morphic fields far beyond your personal story. When you abandon yourself, that frequency gets recorded. When you honor yourself, that frequency gets recorded. Both become reference points in the field for others. You are not just living your life, you're writing a template. This is also why your breakdowns have never fully taken you out. You've had moments where you felt like you were going to disappear into the numbness and never come back. Times when you thought, if I fall any further, that's it. There's no version of me on the other side. And yet, somehow, something always catches you. A phrase, a sign, a synchronicity. A stranger's words that feel like they were spoken just for you. That something is the quantum field, refusing to lose the consciousness it assigned to reroute this destiny line. You are not disposable here. You are a keystone in a structure much bigger than your current circumstances. When your quantum self forces a reroute, it isn't just to give you a better experience. It's because the reality track you were maintaining has reached its expiration date. The patterns of overgiving, self-abandonment, shrinking, and pretending were feeding an entire grid of limitation. Your refusal to keep powering those patterns is an act of rebellion at the level of reality itself. This is why trying harder doesn't work for you anymore. The usual advice, push more, hustle more, be more disciplined, doesn't land, not because you're lazy, but because your mission is not to become a better performer in a broken system. Your mission is to stop feeding the code that keeps that system alive inside you. You are here to demonstrate a different way of existing in the quantum field. Coherent, awake, unwilling to trade your soul for approval or comfort. You're not imagining it. There has always been a silent war over your attention. Every numbing habit, every distracting relationship, every loop that keeps you small has been competing for the power of your observation. Because wherever your awareness rests, reality crystallizes. You are a reality maker without training wheels, and the field around you knows that. That's why your "I'm over it" moment is so powerful. It's not apathy. It's a refusal to keep lending your creative force to timelines that don't deserve you. You, the one listening to this, in this exact moment, you are the consciousness that said yes to incarnating into a dense, looping world and carrying the capacity to midwife a new pattern through your own nervous system. You are the point where the old story of your life ends and the new narrative of your lineage, your environment, your reality begins. And now that you've remembered that, your quantum self is ready to make you an offer, a breakthrough promise that comes with urgency, not from fear, but from the closing of a cosmic window. Here's the part your mind has been secretly waiting for, even while pretending not to care. Yes, there is a breakthrough coming for you. Not someday, not if you're perfect, not if you fix everything first. Your breakthrough is already in motion. The pressure you feel, the numbness you're trapped in, the way reality feels too tight around you, all of that is proof that the shift has begun. You're not waiting for the change. The change is waiting for you to say yes. There is a cosmic window open around your life right now. You can feel it as that strange mix of urgency and exhaustion, like something inside you is whispering, "Move now," while another part says, "I can't keep going like this." That inner conflict is phase transition pressure. The quantum field is holding open a new timeline for you, but observer loops don't dissolve by default. They dissolve when a consciousness like yours stops feeding them and chooses coherence instead of confusion. On a biological level, your DNA restructuring is already underway. Think about the symptoms you've been experiencing, the random surges of emotion, the sudden clarity followed by deep fatigue, the way your body refuses certain environments, foods, conversations, and people it once tolerated. That isn't you becoming difficult. That's your system rejecting frequencies that are incompatible with the timeline you're being rerouted into. There are dormant codes in your DNA, instructions for a different version of you that doesn't live in constant self-betrayal, self-doubt, and self-abandonment. Those codes are being activated by your awakening. Every time you honor your truth instead of your fear, a new strand of coherence lights up inside your field. Every time you say "no more" to a pattern you used to tolerate, you send a signal through your morphic resonance line that updates the pattern for everyone entangled with you. But there is urgency here, and you can feel it. You're not meant to hover at this threshold forever. Stay in this in-between space for too long, and numbness turns into bitterness. The "I'm over everything" state can become a permanent exile from your own life if you don't recognize it for what it is, a temporary corridor between collapsed timelines and emerging ones. This is not a place to build a house. It's a passageway you were never meant to camp in. The promise is this: if you choose to align with the reroute your quantum self is forcing right now, your reality will not just improve gradually, it will undergo a phase transition. The structures of your life will begin to reconfigure around a different center. People who were never truly resonant will fall away with surprising ease. Opportunities that feel like extensions of your real self will appear with almost unnatural synchronicity. Your inner and outer worlds will begin to match at a level you've never experienced before. But here's the condition: you cannot bring your old agreements into this new timeline. The vows you made with exhaustion, "I'll just get through it. I'll settle. I'll stay small to stay safe." Those contracts expire here. The quantum field doesn't reward half commitments. Coherence requires that your yes is a full yes, and your no is a full no. You don't have to know how the reroute will unfold. You just have to stop pretending you want what's been draining you. This is where urgency meets grace. The window doesn't stay open forever, not because you'll be punished, but because reality solidifies around whatever you consistently observe. If you keep observing your life through the lens of "nothing matters," that lens becomes your prison. If you start observing your life as a phase transition, messy, disorienting, but sacred, your field will respond accordingly. The same circumstances can either lock you in or launch you out, depending on the story you stabilize inside your consciousness. Your quantum self isn't asking you to overhaul your entire life overnight. It's asking for one thing: consent. A clear, unfragmented, "I agree to the reroute. I'm willing to leave behind what's killing my spirit." That decision creates an entanglement between your present self and the version of you already standing on the other side of this numbness. From that moment forward, synchronicity becomes your guidance system, coherence becomes your protection, and your DNA restructuring moves from subtle to undeniable. You are not at the end of your story. You are at the end of a loop, and if you accept this breakthrough window, your numbness will not be your tombstone. It will be remembered as the exact vibration you were in when your destiny line snapped and your real life finally began to reroute itself around who you truly are. In the next movement, your quantum self will ask you to perform a ritual action, small in the physical world, massive in the quantum field, to seal this choice and translate your inner yes into an observable shift in your reality. So here you are, standing in that invisible doorway between the life you've been surviving and the life your quantum self has already mapped for you. You've felt the pressure, you've seen the patterns, you've heard the call. But in the quantum field, nothing is real until consciousness interacts with it. A timeline remains potential until an observer seals it with choice. That's why this moment matters more than you realize. Your mind has heard every kind of motivation speech. It's not impressed by big promises anymore. It wants proof. Your quantum self, however, doesn't need proof. It needs permission. A clear, observable signal that you are done feeding the old loop and ready to align with the reroute it's been forcing from behind the scenes. That signal doesn't have to be dramatic. It just has to be coherent. Right now, I want you to do something simple but precise. If you're in a place where you can, gently bring one hand to your heart. Don't overthink it. Just let your palm rest there. Feel the weight of your own touch, the warmth beneath your skin, the quiet rhythm of your existence still moving even when you feel like you've checked out. Take a slow, deliberate breath in through your nose and let it out through your mouth like you're releasing a lifetime of pretending you're fine. As you breathe, imagine that beneath your hand there is more than a physical heart. Picture a small, luminous point, your coherence core, the place where your soul, your body, your mind, and your destiny are still in agreement, even if the rest of your life feels scattered. With each breath, see that point getting brighter, as if your quantum self is turning up the light on your real blueprint. Now, here's the ritual action that seals this in the field. When you're ready, in the comments of this transmission, or if you're not on a platform with comments, then write it in your notes, write it on paper, make it visible somewhere. I want you to declare a single word. Rerouted. Not trying, not soon, not maybe. Rerouted. Written in the present, as if the shift is already real. Because in the quantum field, by the time you feel the urge to change, the deeper decision has already been made. This might look like just a word on a screen, but that word is a coherence marker. It's you taking the vague swirl of thoughts and feelings inside you and collapsing them into a clear signal the quantum field can respond to. When you type or write routed, you're not just making a comment. You're authorizing your higher self to move the pieces you've been too tired, scared, or confused to move yourself. As you write it, notice what happens in your body. Maybe your chest tightens. Maybe your stomach flips. Maybe you feel nothing at all. All of those responses are valid. You don't need fireworks. What matters is that your observer loop is no longer pretending to want the old reality. You're acknowledging, in writing, that you consent to the phase transition that's already underway. From this point on, your life will start testing this declaration, not to punish you, but to help you embody it. Situations will arise that ask, are you really rerouted, or are you still available for the old loop? People may invite you back into dynamics that drained you. Habits may try to reattach themselves. Each of those moments becomes a portal, old pattern or new coherence. You won't always choose perfectly. You don't have to. But your baseline has changed. The field now registers you as someone who has declared a reroute, and it will reorganize around that signal. Understand this. The ritual isn't about pleasing the universe. The universe is already on your side. The ritual is about aligning you with you, your conscious mind with your quantum self, your words with your inner knowing, your observer with the timeline it actually wants to collapse into form. When you see your own declaration written out, something internal shifts from "I'm thinking about it" to "I've chosen it." Every want 5. So, hand on heart, breathing slowly, seeing that inner light pulsing brighter, you whisper to yourself in whatever tone feels true, I am rerouted. I'm not going back to sleep. And with that, you join a morphic field of others across the planet who have silently made the same choice, using their own words, in their own rooms, at their own breaking points. You've just taken a small physical action that carries massive quantum weight. And now, as this new signal stabilizes in your field, we move into the next layer of truth, how your personal liberation doesn't end with you, but radiates out as a blueprint for humanity's awakening. Oh, just like you, reached the breaking point and chose not to go back to sleep. Your reroute is not a private upgrade. It's a broadcast. Every time you refuse to collapse back into the old observer loop, you're not just changing your story, you're weakening the entire pattern for everyone connected to it. That heavy family narrative that says we always struggle, we always settle, we never get out. It doesn't dissolve in theory. It dissolves when one person, in one lifetime, in one quiet moment, says, no, not through me, not anymore. You are that person. Your nervous system is doing work that entire institutions fail to do. While systems argue, collapse, and try to hold on to control, you're doing the real revolution, breaking inherited loops of self-abandonment, scarcity, and spiritual amnesia inside your own body. When your DNA restructuring shifts you from survival patterns into coherence, that change doesn't stay locked inside your skin. It radiates into the morphic field, your family, your community, your generation draws from. Have you noticed how people already come to you with their heaviness? How they confess things they've never said out loud before? How they say, I don't know why I'm telling you this. They don't come to you because you have all the answers. They come because your field holds a frequency that their soul recognizes as space. Space to be real, space to not pretend, space to consider that a different reality might actually be possible. You've always been the one who couldn't fully buy into the lie that this is just how it is, that everyone is miserable, that dreams are for other people. Even when you tried to comply, some part of you gagged on that narrative. That gag reflex is sacred. That resistance is how the quantum field uses you as a crack in the wall of collective hypnosis. Through that crack, light slips in. As your coherence increases, your very presence begins to create what could be called quantum openings in other people's observer loops. Maybe you've seen it. The way someone softens when you speak from your truth, the way a friend starts questioning their own patterns after you share yours, the way strangers online find language for feelings they couldn't name until they heard you articulate them. That's entanglement in action. Your awakening becomes a permission slip for theirs. You don't have to preach. You don't have to convince anyone. You don't have to wake people up in some exhausting savior role. Your only real task is to embody your reroute so fully that your life, as it reorganizes around coherence, becomes undeniable evidence that another timeline is real. When people see you gradually refusing misaligned roles, releasing dead dynamics, and still being guided, provided for, and protected, something inside them whispers, if they can reroute, maybe I can too. The quantum field responds to clusters, not just individuals. One awakened observer is powerful. Many awakened observers, entangled through intention and recognition, become a phase transition force for the collective. Remember that feeling of being over everything? That wasn't just personal burnout. It was you feeling the weight of a global observer loop, humanity trapped in repetition, conflict, and unconsciousness. Your decision to reroute is your answer to that weight. It's you saying, I'll be one of the ones who shifts this from the inside. Every coherent breath you take, every boundary you honor, every truth you stop apologizing for sends a subtle signal through the grid. It becomes easier for someone on the other side of the world to say no to what drains them, yes to what lights them up, even if they never know your name. That's morphic resonance. You're not just healing for yourself. You're rehearsing a new way of being human and uploading it into the shared field. And here's the wild part. The more you own this, the less heavy it becomes. This isn't about carrying the world on your shoulders. It's about realizing that when you stand in your authentic frequency, you're no longer dragging a dead timeline behind you. You're surfing a wave that countless other souls are riding, too. You're not the only one rerouting. You're part of a coordinated maneuver orchestrated at levels far beyond what the mind can grasp. So when you feel that strange mix of isolation and connection, of being deeply alone yet somehow watched over, remember, you are the bridge. Your quantum self is using your life as a living demonstration that numbness can become navigation, burnout can become breakthrough, and a single consciousness can contribute to the phase transition of an entire species. And as we go deeper, that shift won't stay theoretical. You're going to feel it in your body, in your breath, your skin, your heartbeat, as your cells begin to recognize that the reroute isn't just a concept anymore. It's becoming an embodied reality, one sensation at a time. Let's bring this out of theory and straight into where you live, your body. Because your reroute isn't just happening in your thoughts or your beliefs. It's happening in your nervous system, your breath, your heartbeat. Your cells are the screen where this quantum update is being projected, and whether you've noticed or not, they've been trying to get your attention. Right now, without changing anything, just notice the way you're sitting or lying down. Notice the weight of your body against the chair, the bed, the floor. Notice the points of contact, your feet, your back, your hands. For a moment, instead of observing your life from your head, drop your awareness down into your chest. Not as an idea, as a sensation. There's probably a subtle tightness there, or a dull heaviness, or a strange emptiness, like a room where someone just left. That feeling is not random. It's what it feels like when an old observer loop is running out of fuel. Your heart space has been powering timelines that were never built for your real self, and the weight you feel is the echo of all the times you said yes when your entire body was screaming no. Now, I want you to imagine that every numb place in your body is not dead, it's frozen, suspended, waiting. Those areas that feel dull, heavy, or offline are actually holding compressed data. Unprocessed experiences, suppressed truths, abandoned desires. They're not empty. They're full of information. Your quantum self is ready to decode. Pay attention to your throat. How many times have you swallowed words to keep the peace? How many moments did your body want to speak, to say, "This is not okay," and instead you forced a smile? That faint constriction you might feel, there is coherence trying to form, the distance between silence and truth closing in. As your DNA restructuring continues, you'll notice your throat reacting more strongly to misalignment, tightness when you're about to lie to yourself, relaxation when you tell the truth, even if your voice shakes. Move your awareness down into your solar plexus, that space between your ribs and your navel. This is your personal sun, your power center. Feel into it. Does it feel collapsed, like a dim light bulb, or tense, like a coiled spring? That's where old fear codes have been stored. Fear of being seen, fear of failing, fear of outgrowing the people around you. As your observer loop breaks and your awakening accelerates, that area will start to buzz, tingle, warm. You may feel heat there when you make decisions that honor your reroute. That heat is your system saying, yes, this is closer to who we really are. Notice your spine, the main antenna of your nervous system. You might have felt random shivers, waves, or subtle currents moving up and down your back at the strangest times. Hearing a certain sentence, seeing certain numbers, feeling a sudden knowing. That isn't just chills. That's the quantum field brushing against your circuitry, confirmation signals from your higher self. Over time, those currents become your inner language of synchronicity, your body reacting before your mind has time to explain. Your skin is part of this, too. The way it prickles around certain people, the way it relaxes in certain spaces, the way your whole body either contracts or softens when you think about specific choices. This is how your coherence speaks. In micro movements, breath changes, temperature shifts. Every contraction is a data point. Every expansion is a yes. Even your fatigue is sensation. You're not just tired. You feel like gravity doubles around certain tasks, certain conversations, certain versions of yourself. That density is phase transition pressure made physical. Your quantum field is trying to move you out of those loops, and your body cooperates by making misaligned actions feel heavy, slow, and energetically expensive. On the flip side, notice how even on your most exhausted days, certain ideas, connections, or creative impulses suddenly give you a surge of energy. That surge is entanglement with your higher timeline, your system momentarily stepping into a field where you're already alive, already lit up, already coherent. As your reroute settles, your dreams may intensify, waking up with your heart pounding, your palms sweating, or tears on your face. Those aren't just dreams. They're your subconscious rehearsing life outside the observer loop, processing old loops, collapsing their charge, making space for new ones. You'll begin waking with physical sensations of relief after symbolic endings in your dream life. Funerals for identities you no longer need, houses collapsing that you never want to live in again. This is the embodiment of morphic resonance. Your body is no longer just carrying your personal story. It's participating in the rewrite of a collective one. As you honor these sensations instead of numbing them, you shift from victim of your physiology to interpreter of a living quantum feedback system. Your body stops being the problem and reveals itself as your most honest guide. So when you feel that tightness, that heaviness, that buzz, that unexpected peace, don't push it away. This is your new language. This is Destiny Reroute, translated into breath, pulse, and skin. And as this language becomes familiar, something deeper begins to unlock in your very blueprint. Not just feeling different, but being different. As your DNA itself responds to the reroute and your entire timeline starts to bend. All of these sensations you've been carrying, the tightness, the heaviness, the surges, the strange waves moving through your body, are not random side effects. They're the visible edge of an invisible process. Your DNA entering a phase transition. You're not just changing your mindset, you're changing the operating system your entire reality runs on. Deep inside your cells, beyond the stories you tell, beyond the identities you've worn, your DNA holds multiple future templates. Not metaphors, actual encoded potentials for who you can become and which timelines you can inhabit. For most people, only a narrow band of those potentials ever gets activated because their observer loop keeps picking the same emotional frequencies over and over. But you've hit the pressure point where the old selection pattern can't sustain itself anymore. That pressure you feel, the sense that something has to give, that you can't stretch yourself any thinner, that you're either going to break down or break through, that is phase transition pressure inside your very blueprint. Think of water again. At a certain temperature, it doesn't have the option to remain water. The energy in the system forces a change of state. That's where you are now. Your soul has been turning up the heat for years, slowly, relentlessly, until your DNA can no longer support the timelines of self-betrayal you've been living in. This is why the numbness feels so absolute. It's why old desires don't motivate you, old goals don't excite you, old identities feel like costumes you're done wearing. The code that used to generate meaning in those realities is being overwritten. Your DNA is dropping support for timelines that do not honor your actual frequency. It's like your system is uninstalling entire versions of you that were built around survival, approval, and adaptation, and preparing to boot up the version built around coherence, truth, and alignment. As this happens, you might notice flashes of your future self bleeding into your present. Random moments where you suddenly feel clear, powerful, grounded, even if nothing outside you has changed yet. Tiny windows where your posture shifts, your voice stabilizes, your decisions feel effortless. Those are timeline previews. Your consciousness is briefly syncing with the reality track where your DNA breakthrough is already complete. The more you honor those moments, instead of dismissing them, the more frequent and stable they become. Timeline shift isn't always cinematic. Sometimes it looks like quietly not texting back, not going to the place you always go, saying no without over-explaining, letting a conversation die that used to keep you stuck. Each of those seemingly small choices is a micro-jump. Your observer function, refusing to reinforce the old probability wave and selecting a different one instead. On the surface, it's just behavior. In the quantum field, it's a rerouting of destiny vectors. You'll feel the old loop trying to pull you back. That's natural. The timelines you're leaving behind have inertia. They'll send familiar thoughts. Maybe I'm being dramatic. Maybe I should just push through. Maybe this is as good as it gets. Those aren't neutral thoughts. They're the echo of a dying reality trying to keep you as its power source. Every time you notice them and still choose the path that honors your body's truth, your DNA locks more firmly into the new configuration. You might also notice certain chronic symptoms peaking before they improve. Headaches, fatigue, tension, random aches, emotional floods. This is the turbulence at the boundary between timelines. As the observer loop dissolves, your system purges stored stress, grief, and self-suppression that were required to maintain the old reality. It is not a punishment. It is an evacuation. Old emotional densities are leaving your field because they cannot cross into the higher coherence trajectory you're stepping into. In the middle of all that, remember this: your breakthrough is not something you have to force. You've already done the hardest part by not abandoning yourself when everything felt meaningless. The fact that you're still here, still listening, still willing to consider that your numbness has purpose, that alone proves that the new code is winning. Your job now is not to accelerate the process, but to stop sabotaging it, to let the reroute complete. There will come a day, sooner than your doubt believes, when you'll look back at this season and realize it was the hinge on which your entire life turned. You'll remember nights of staring at the ceiling, feeling nothing and everything, thinking you were broken. And you'll see that this was the exact pressure required for your DNA to flip states, for your timeline to bend, for your destiny to reroute around who you really are. And as that realization crystallizes, something else becomes clear. This was never just about you feeling better. This breakthrough is your initiation into a much larger mission, one that will turn your personal reroute into a living, breathing contribution to humanity's evolution itself. Take one more breath with yourself right now, a real one, in and out. Feel the weight of this moment, not as content you're consuming, but as a crossroads your soul will remember. You are not who you were when you started listening. The numbness that once felt like a dead end has revealed itself as a threshold. You've seen the loop, you've heard the call, you've felt the pressure, and whether you realize it yet or not, you've already started walking a different way. Your quantum self hasn't just been trying to make your life a little easier. It's been orchestrating a complete reroute of your destiny vector. The version of you that would have kept repeating the same emotional timelines, same heartbreak, same disappointment, same self-abandonment, that version has been quietly dissolving throughout this transmission. Every recognition, every shiver, every "that's exactly how I feel" moment has been your consciousness exiting the old script and stepping into authorship. You are not here to be a side character in your own life. You are not here to be the one who holds everyone else together while you fall apart inside. You are not here to carry dead stories on living shoulders. You are here as a focal point of consciousness through which the universe is rewriting an entire pattern of human existence, from numb survival to embodied coherence. From now on, the question is not, how do I go back to who I used to be? The question is, how do I cooperate with who I'm becoming? That means listening when your body contracts and honoring when it expands. It means trusting the timelines that fall away, even when your mind wants to chase them. It means allowing yourself to want what truly lights you up, without immediately strangling those desires with doubt. Your mission isn't to become perfect. Your mission is to become honest. Honest about what drains you, honest about what feeds you, honest about the kind of life that your nervous system, your heart, your soul can no longer pretend is acceptable. As you live that honesty, you become a walking prophecy, a living proof that destiny is not a fixed sentence, but a quantum arrangement that responds to coherence. There will still be hard days. There will still be waves of tiredness, moments where the old loop whispers to you, invites you back into its familiar numbness. But now you know too much. You've seen behind the curtain. You've felt your own DNA stirring, your own field recalibrating. You've declared yourself rerouted in a universe that takes declarations seriously. Remember this: every time you choose your truth over your fear, your coherence over your old conditioning, a new world becomes slightly more possible for everyone. Your life becomes a signal fire on the edge of the old paradigm, telling anyone who can see there is another way through this. That is your cosmic mission. Not to save the world, but to stop betraying yourself, and in doing so, to show the world what a non-betrayed human looks like. So, when the numbness rises again, don't panic. Recognize it. Nod to it. Hear it as the same message you can never unhear now. You've outgrown this loop. You're being redirected. You're being rewritten. And let this closing line echo in your cells like a code you can return to anytime you forget. If you're numb and over everything, it's because your quantum self is already forcing a destiny reroute now.